Hello and welcome to Mike Ferry TV. I'm Ron Cronin, President of Business Development for the Mike Ferry Organization. On last week's episode of Mike Ferry TV, I spoke to you about the importance of having your scripts memorized. We talked about that there are 7 scripts for you to memorize in the Mike Ferry system, and we talked about what happens when you have them memorized. We talked about what happens when you don't have them memorized. I gave you suggestions of how to get that done. And then after that video, I received all sorts of notes and email from agents who watched, and they had concerns. And it was, the scripts aren't my style, and I don't know how to memorize them. I've used them for years. Can't I just read them off the paper? And, we discussed that last week. So I jotted down a few thoughts for you for this week. And it's, why do we fight using canned scripts and canned presentations? Why do we fight this? Because so many of our great agents, they have the scripts memorized to some degree, but not all the way, right? And if you think about it, if you're supporting yourself and your family and your future and your retirement and your lifestyle with these scripts, it only makes sense to have them memorized. But what gets in the way? That's what I want to discuss with you today. So grab a pen and paper and let's write this down. The first thing I wrote down is that our egos get in the way. Our egos get in the way. Okay, how does our ego get in the way with a canned script or a canned presentation? Well, it probably has an opinion about the script. Your ego does. And remember, your ego doesn't want you to try anything different. It doesn't want you to try anything new. It doesn't want you to expand. It doesn't want you to grow. Your ego wants you to stay in what's familiar, and it wants you to stay in the safe zone, or as Mike says, the comfort zone. Okay? So as soon as you pull out a script that you're not familiar with, your ego automatically tells you, no, the script is bad, okay? So our egos get in the way. It doesn't like you speaking differently. It doesn't like you asking important questions. Your ego doesn't want you moving people to the next level. And that's what all of Mike Ferry Scripts can do. It doesn't really care if you set appointments or not, your ego. It doesn't care. It only wants you to remain in the comfort zone. Remember that, okay? So first thing we wrote down is our egos get in the way. Write down number 2 or letter B. Oftentimes we fight using canned scripts and canned presentations because we don't want to look like a salesperson. Right? You're a salesperson, but you don't want to look like a salesperson. You want to look like a realtor or a marketing specialist or something other than what the job really is. But as a real estate professional, you're supposed to be a salesperson. And, you may or may not be proud of that, right? Which could hold you back, because if you don't want to look like a salesperson, well, you for sure are not going to want to speak like a salesperson. So it keeps you from using canned presentations, canned scripts, okay? So if we write down letter C, please write down letter C. Scripts take us out of our comfort zone, okay? As I said, they may not be the way you normally speak. It may not be the type of conversation that you're used to having. It may not be where your conversations typically go. But the script will take you to the appointment. The script will take you to the sale or to the signature if you'll allow it. Okay? But if it's out of the comfort zone, remember, the ego pops up and it doesn't want you to do anything about it. Okay, so remember this thing. Mike Ferry told me this one time when I was explaining to him my production goals and my income goals. And he nodded and smiled after I told him. And he says, Ron, everything you said you wanted as far as production and income, everything you said you wanted is outside of your comfort zone. Well, which was true. The income was outside of the comfort zone. The production was outside of the comfort zone. Okay, so does everything along with it. I had to accept that everything along with that would be outside of the comfort zone as well, including the way we speak to people, which is the script. Please write down number 4 or letter D. Okay, it's hard for us to use canned scripts and presentations because we're used to letting the customer control the conversation. That might be what you're used to. where they do all the talking and you do the listening and writing things down, and they tell you how it's going to go and when you're going to meet and what their strategy is. And you just may be used to listening to people and nodding and getting along. But the question is, do you get an appointment at the end? Do you get the signature at the end? Are you getting the sale? Okay? If you're used to letting the customer take control, it's going to be hard to use the scripts, because remember what another great point from Mike Ferry, he teaches us that the person in control is the person asking questions. And if you're following the Mike Ferry scripts, you are definitely asking questions of the prospect and of the customer or the potential client. Okay? So if you're used to letting them control the conversation, this is going to be hard. We want you to be in control. We want you to be asking the questions. We want you to be leading the conversation, leading it right to an appointment, leading it right to a sale. Okay? Write down number 5 or letter E. The scripts don't allow us time for bonding. Right? They don't allow us time for bonding. Now, a lot of you, if you haven't had professional sales training, or you've been in coaching for a short period of time and haven't received all the training yet, well, you may be resorting to your natural abilities of bonding with people. How do we bond with people? Well, we pretend to be very happy and we find things in common and we try to get chummy and we try to make plans for the future, right? Bonding techniques. Well, remember, as a professional business owner and as a professional salesperson, bonding isn't really required as long as you have great service and you know how to ask questions to show the value of your service. Okay? So if bonding is your main thing, well, then the canned scripts may be a little difficult for you to use. But if you can be open and let go of those old bonding techniques, realize that you are a great person, that you have great service, and then know how to present it, well, then we don't have to, go after some of these old things we used to do. If we look at number 6 or letter F, why, using canned scripts and presentations is so difficult, number 6 says we're too lazy to learn the scripts. We're too lazy to learn them. Well, that's fair, right? I mean, heck, to learn 11 question expired script, that could take up to 30 minutes. And who has time for that? You can tell I'm joking, okay? Because the truth is, remember I said it last week, there's only 7 scripts to memorize. The expired, for sale by owner, the just listed, just sold, the center of influence, the pre-qualifying script, the 1-minute presentation, and the CMA presentation. If you think about how much money you're trying to earn and you had to learn 7 scripts, it doesn't seem to be that big of a deal. So many of you watching right now are very used to these scripts and you've had them for years, but you've never actually committed them to memory. So I'm challenging you this week. I'm challenging you to memorize these scripts, okay? I know that deep down you're not too lazy. But I also think that, maybe you think it's a bigger task than it really is, and you also think that maybe you could just read it like you've been doing for a while, okay? But again, I'm challenging you. You're not lazy, right? Number 7 or letter G, why using these scripts is so hard. I wrote down, well, you're an independent contractor and nobody can tell you what to do and what to say, right? You're an independent contractor. I'm an independent contractor. You can't tell me what to do. I'll say what I want to say. Okay, great. But, is it getting you what you want? Is it getting you what you deserve? Are you achieving your goals? Would you like all of those things to come to you much easier? Gosh, guys, knowing the scripts, using canned presentations, having canned questions that, make sense to the customer, it's the way to go, okay? And then the last thing I wrote down that, is one of the reasons that using these canned scripts and presentations is so hard is the fear is that using the scripts might cause the agent to succeed. It might cause them to succeed, meaning they might actually set an appointment. They might actually get a signature or make a sale. And, heaven forbid that should happen because I'm not prepared for an appointment. So, I'm not really wanting one. I want to appear that I'm trying to get one. I want everyone to think I'm trying to get one, but it might cause me to succeed if I use these scripts. So I'm not quite sure if I want to use them or not. I don't know that I'm prepared. Okay? So, eight thoughts here as to why it gets in the way and why it's so hard. But when you look at them and you go over them again, you're too lazy. It's out of the comfort zone. They might cause you to succeed. Really? Guys and gals, I hope you take this video to heart, and I hope that you realize that memorizing them is simple. So I'm going to say to you what I said last week. Take one script this week, one of them, and commit it to memory. Spend the next 5 or 6 days repeating it over and over and over all day when you're getting ready for work, when you're driving to work, when you're on your lunch break, during your prospecting. Say the script over and over, commit it to memory, and then maybe next week take on a second script. Add it to the memorization. But once you start on the second one, continue on the first one as well. So the second week, you'll do the first script and the second script. The third week, you're going to do the first script, the second script, and the third script. But if these 7 scripts are how you plan to, support yourself and support your lifestyle for the next few years, it only makes sense to have them memorized. I hope you enjoyed watching. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.